Misrata, Libya's third largest city, is increasingly grave after several weeks under relentless fire from Colonel Gaddafi's forces. Hospital doctors say they're unable to cope with the flow of casualties, most of them civilians. The BBC has now seen evidence that Gaddafi's troops are using cluster bombs, a weapon that's banned in more than 100 countries. Our correspondent, Orla Guerin, sent this report from Misrata.
Resting after a night of battle. They call themselves the Eagle Fighters. Some are neighbours, some cousins, all are brothers in arms. Their leader, Hassan Dua, a steel worker, tells me the rebels lost 3 last night, including one of his men. But they kept Colonel Gaddafi's forces off their streets for now. They display remnants of cluster bombs, which they say landed on homes and a supermarket. This is the tail fin of one of them. These weapons are indiscriminate, deadly and widely banned. Then they surprised us with a bomblet, handling it though it could still explode. In this neighbourhood, everyone knows the no-go zones. Here among the wreckage, civilians are a prime target. Well, this is as far as we can go. We've been told that Colonel Gaddafi's forces are in position. They're just around the corner, about 500 metres away. We're shielded here, but if we advance, we'll be within range of the snipers' guns. Local people say several civilians have been killed on this corner, including a 15-year-old boy who was just trying to reach the shop across the road. Abdul Hamid, an airline pilot, lives a few steps away. His family has been here for generations.
Yeah, because this is my brother. I have two brothers up there. We have 4 brothers. We are living the same.
He's staying put to defend his home. The house has already been hit once. A bullet landed close to his son. Snipers set the rules here now.
Don't move. Don't cross the street. This street is illegal to cross. Anyone who will cross will die.
His teenage daughters have hardly been outside for the past 2 months. 13-year-old Palkis dreams of being a doctor, but can't even go to school. We can't bear it, she says. No hour passes without bombs and the sound of bullets. We are Gaddafi's people, and he's bombing us.
It was hit here.
Abdul Hamid's beloved nephew, Ali, a 21-year-old student, was one of those killed on the street.
Well, I love him too much. He belongs to us.
And at the main hospital tonight, a desperate attempt to save life. But this rebel fighter died of his injuries. And the death toll kept rising. In all, 6 fighters were killed during the afternoon and evening. Among them, a rebel hero called Khalid Safrouni, shot by a sniper. The fighters claim he led 300 men. There was chaos as his body emerged. For the rebels, it's a significant loss, but they're heading back to the front line. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Misrata.
The United States has started using armed drone aircraft over Libya to target Colonel Gaddafi's forces more effectively. The US Defense Secretary Robert Gates told a news conference that unmanned Predator aircraft were being made available, but the Pentagon denied that this is evidence that the mission in Libya is being extended.
Now, the President has said that where we have some unique capabilities, he is willing to use those, and in fact, he has approved the use of armed predators, and I think that today may in fact have been their first mission.
Bill Roggio is a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies and managing editor of the Long War Journal. He told me why the drones have not been used before.
Drones aren't really there's nothing special about the drones. They're just a weapons platform that fire missiles. The only difference between a drone and an F-16 or an F-15 is that the drone is piloted from an air base in the United States or some forward location, whereas a regular fighter jet, there's going to be someone inside. They're still looking through a camera, looking at a target, and are going to fire some form of precision-guided weapon. The question is I think to me, is why has the Obama administration turned around now and said, well, after pulling out of the operation, essentially, except for some logistical help, and why are they going to turn around now and put in some armed aircraft back into the conflict?
And could the answer be that it's a sign that this conflict has not been as quick and easy as everyone first thought?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really do think that the allies, that NATO, the U.S., and everyone that's gotten involved thought that this would be a very easy operation, that they'd go in, they'd do some airstrikes, and Colonel Gaddafi and his cadre would basically roll over, either resign or cut some form of a deal. But, you know, after more than a month of fighting and bombing by NATO aircraft, what you've seen that Gaddafi's forces have regained a lot of ground, and you know the one area, Misrata, in the west, is really under siege and is in danger of becoming back under control of Gaddafi.
So should the West have got involved in the first place?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, to me, personally, I believe that the West has an interest in, or any country has an interest in, getting involved in conflicts that are in their national interest. This was billed as a humanitarian conflict, but you know, particularly with the United States being engaged in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and against Al Qaeda and its affiliates. You know, is Libya the next place where you want to commit significant number of forces? Even if they're not ground forces, it takes a lot of diplomatic effort and a lot of coordination with the military just to enforce a no-fly zone as well as carry out bombing campaigns.
And with more and more help being given to rebels, it looks increasingly like it's being help in regime change too, presumably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there certainly is mission creep here. You know, the NATO mission was to protect civilians, but now if you're going to be putting in, say, Predators to fire missiles at targeting Gaddafi and say his sons and the top leadership of his administration, then you really have, you know, taken sides in this conflict. And I really do think that was the intention of this all along, was the overthrow of Gaddafi.
Well, we've got some news just coming in now. The Thai, Cambodian and soldiers have clashed in a